Hello, good people. My name is Robert Stuckey, the Irrigation Association's Education Manager, and I'm pleased to welcome you to our third Manufacturer Series webinar of 2023. Today's webinar titled Landscape Lighting, Good, Better, and Best is sponsored by FX Luminaire. FX Luminaire is an industry-leading manufacturer of landscape and architectural lighting products with a focus on advancement of LED landscape lighting technology and digital lighting control with zoning, dimming, and other color adjustment capabilities. To learn more about their innovative products, please visit fxl.com. Before we start the presentation, I'd like everyone to know that this session is being recorded and that all attendee microphones will be muted. This particular webinar is not worth any IACs. If you have any questions, please type them into the chat box. Our presenter will do his best to answer them closer to the end of the presentation. Our speaker today is Anthony Italia. He has worked in the green industry for 25 years, with 21 years in landscape lighting. Throughout his career, he has worked in green industry sales, design, and most recently in product management. He has a bachelor's degree in horticulture from the University of Delaware and participated in postgraduate studies in horticulture and plant science research and development at North Carolina State University. He's an avid outdoorsman and currently resides in Chester County, Pennsylvania, with his wife and 3 boys. Please, Tony, take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone, and it's my pleasure to be here. I hope I can teach you at least one new thing today. That's the best I can really shoot for, is because some of you people are knowledgeable out there, but if you can walk away with one little thing, it makes my day. And feel free to tell me what that is at the end. I throw a lot of little tricks of the trade out there that I've picked up along the way. So let's get started. I want to pay homage to Hunter Industries for being the best out there, and I feel privileged to work for them. I'm in my 15th year working for Ed Hunter under the FX brand, and I've learned so much in the last 15 years. It's humbling to see how big our industry is, yet at the same time, you can go to any event and usually see 1 or 2 people that you know. So it's always neat to know that we have a family out there of people that we come up with. So let me get started. And I know Robert said we're going to keep questions to the end, so feel free to write them down as we go along. And hopefully that question still remains unanswered at the end. And if it's answered during my talk, I'd be happy to revisit with you anyway. Okay, so we're going to kind of look at this image. I want you to really think about good, better, and best as we go along. It really goes 2 different ways. So when I say good, better, best, it may be product related. It may be an alloy fixture, powder coated. It might be a composite fixture. It might be something that we would consider less expensive. And then going up to better, it might be something that's copper or brass, all the way up to best, stainless steel. But is it truly the best? What's different between a stainless steel uplight inland in the middle of our country versus an aluminum powder coated? There's not a lot of difference. It's really the effect that it's creating. If you can get your hands on a really good aluminum powder coated fixture, and you have experience with that, and you know that serves you well, you'll find that homeowners or end users may request certain things for the wrong reasons. They may just be stuck on copper. They may want stainless steel to match their outdoor kitchen appliances. What I found over the years is that can really drive the price up, and if they're willing to pay for that, wonderful. But in all regards, it's really all about the light source. It's about the effect. And I want you to think about that going forward when we see some of the images. A lot of these homes and layouts and backyard kitchens could have been completed with various products ranging from composite all the way up to stainless steel. So choosing the right fixture and the right product is critical along your journey of profit margin. Also, what you get used to using, you get comfortable with, and you tend to want to use that again because it's worked for you. So make sure you're fully aware of what's out there in the product field. And then in the same aspect, good, better, best might just mean this. So we look at this image here. What could you do to make it a good job? Well, path lighting. Maybe all you offered to this client or all they wanted was, we want path lights because we just can't see where we're walking at night. Okay, we can do that, no problem. Maybe you light up the wall for aesthetic appeal. Maybe there's ivy growing on the wall, so you want to light some of that up to give some color to the property at night. Maybe you do under the cap or ledge lighting to add a little bit more attractiveness to it. You can see there's bistro lights hanging in the center of this image. Maybe you offer bistro lights because now that gives them a kind of a feel that they wouldn't have in their backyard, but maybe they've been to a favorite restaurant. Maybe they've been to a resort. And mimicking what they've seen in the past that's made them smile is never a bad thing on somebody's property. So keep that in mind as we go forward. Good, better, and best can mean two things: materials, but also the effect that you're offering them. I love this image. This is an image from the beach shore area of Delaware. And just a really nice environment, beautiful house. During the day, it sits there. Nothing super attractive about it. It has that gray shake siding. But at night, when you're adding that 2700K lumen output color temperature to it, it stands out. It looks warm. It looks inviting. They chose to do that third story lighting for the dormers. And without that, it still would be an amazing project. They also chose to do the chimney because they knew the red was going to pop. This is one of those projects that, again, could have been done multiple ways. But the idea that it's soft and perfect and inviting, they fired on all cylinders with this job. It's not overlit. So we're going to see things like this. And I want you to think about, well, I want to do stuff like that, but what did they use? So I constantly hear, like, what did they use? They could have used a lot. And we're going to talk about a window of opportunity to be successful. The window's big. It's really large with landscape lighting. You can do a subtle job, just grazing something or creating some warmth or a welcoming entranceway, and you've hit the mark. You've given them something good. But you could go all the way out, 80 fixture job, 100 fixture plus, and give them something at the top end of that window, which is jaw-dropping, but you're still in that window. It's only when you go outside of the window on the left, meaning you missed the mark. You made things too bright. You didn't make it bright enough. You didn't listen to the customer. And then at the far end, you can overdo things. We've all seen jobs that are way too bright. There's no way to dim the fixture output. Too many lights side by side. We could go on and on about that. But again, the window for success is huge. So feel confident that if you're kind of starting this journey, getting into this, you've got a lot of road ahead of you to fine tune everything. So I'd like to say, never turn away from a training opportunity. I've been training my whole career, getting better and better. And for me, it all started in college when I was at the University of Delaware, and we had a outdoor course. And I think it was an ornamental horticultural class that kind of led into, hey, we're going to do some lighting out here. And we all got a Rubbermaid bucket with wire in it and a transformer and a bunch of par 36 lights. And we're told to just start placing them around certain areas that were flagged off for us. And I fell in love with the look that I got out of my little project there. And I was the only one to use some colored lenses. They were actually gel films that we were using back then in the late 90s. And kind of the same thing you see at concerts where they used to put the gel films over top of lights. But my professor asked me what made me do that. And I kind of felt like, oh, crap, I didn't do this right. He's going to yell at me. And he said I was the only one out of the group of 30-something people that used all the gels that were in there. And for me, I was just thinking, I wanted to mimic the color coming off of the blue spruces and the evergreens and some of the stemmy stuff that had like a red cast to it. And he thought it was really cool. So anyway, knowledge provides confidence. So the more you know, you get more confident. And once you're confident, you win because results roll in. Nothing says more about you than a confident person. Not stuck on yourself, but just confident that you can walk into a situation, assess it, and know half of the job just from memory. And the rest of it is fine-tuning to kind of win that customer over and give them something that is more than they bargained for. So we talk about tools. What if I was to say, these are your tools? You're a lighting professional, here's your tools. A spotlight, directional spotlight. We tend to call these all accent lights. They all fall in a category called accent lights because they're accenting whatever you're aiming them at, or if it's a path light, it's accenting the area below it. If it's a directional path light, you're aiming towards something, but these are truly your tools, and there's a lot of them out there. The reason I put these up here, it's our Coastal series, but there's a lot of product out there that looks similar to this. So don't get stuck on the fixture and how it looks all the time and, oh, where is it made and who makes it? I mean, there's a lot to be said for having help in the field. You know, one thing I can say, me being at Hunter Industries all these years, Hunter has given us all the tools that we've needed to be successful in the field. In the sales department, our guys are the best. They really go to bat for you guys, almost to the point where it's a burden for us, because if you're burdened, we want to be burdened too until things are right. You know, we don't mind taking on that. And all the way up to product management and above, we care about you guys. So yes, our product are your tools, and they better work well for you in the field, because we're trying to outfit you to be the best. We can talk about wire strippers and mallets and hammers and power drills and everything all day long, but you know those tools. These are the ones that you might need to get to know a little bit better. Huge window for success. I'll keep going back to that. All right, so placement and precision. I've had this image for a long, long time. I hope I never lose it, because I can't find it anymore. I've tried to find it on the internet. It just doesn't show up anymore. But I love this because it's simple. It shows you what a well light does. You know, if you look at the left side, a well light can be called an in-grade light. There's other names for them as well, but honestly, they're meant to be used when you don't want to see the fixture, or you really need a lot of punch power, because especially the LED par 36 lamps that are put in a lot of these well lights, you know, they can get 70, 80, 90 feet up there and do a wonderful job. But they tend to disappear. They've fallen out of fashion in recent years, but actually I think because of the LED par 36s, I'm starting to notice them come back. And that's not a bad thing. Then you see bullet light. Remember I mentioned that they're all accent lights? Well, heck, everything you see on here is an accent light, but they do have specific names. So you've got downlights. Downlights are usually purpose-built to be a downlight. We have some lights that are coming out really soon that are up and down. So contractor buys 30 of them, puts them on his truck. It doesn't matter what he runs into, up or down, this fixture is going to do it. Just the mounting might be different. Wash lights, wall wash, grazers. They get called different things. Floodlights. They tend to be lamped specifically so that they can do a really wide beam. You're not going to get a lot of height with most wash lights, or wall washers as they call it. So just know the terminology is somewhat specific when you get into that. The most specific that you'll see is typically a directional bullet, because now you know that it's going to be kind of a tighter beam in there that you can manipulate with lenses and such. But again, that's a design course. Happy to accommodate you guys down the line with anything like that, of course. But the non-specific you can look on here is called a garden light. So a garden light could mean so many different things, but essentially it's lighting up plant material. In this case, it's a path light. So we may be used to calling things path lights, but if you look in the lower part of the right front slide here, it's a path light. At least that's what I'm used to calling as a path light, but you put it in a garden, there's no path by it. You better have some good ground cover that you're trying to illuminate, because that's what it's going to be doing. Other than that, it's going to be misplaced if you're just trying to light up mulch or a bed within turf. It might be a boundary light at that point, but know your fixtures and know what to do with them. So when you get into selling lighting, for those of you who are new to this game, or maybe have just spent this season or the last couple seasons getting into it, lighting for a lot of people has just been one of those proponents that they added. So it's an added value of what they do. Your best occupational offering might be landscaping, and then irrigation. Maybe it's maintenance. Maybe it's boulder work, or walls, or retaining walls, or pavers, patios. Regardless of what it is, since I've been in the industry for over 20 years, I've noticed that a lot of people used to say, no, we don't do lighting. We focus on what we're good at. And then I would say, well, what are you good at? And they would tell me, and I'd say, yeah, awesome. But who sees it at night? Oh, what do you mean? Well, customer has lights on their house, and I think they have an electrician coming over to put some floodlights in. and it used to make me cringe. And this was even before the LED days, when, in my opinion, lighting has just gotten a little more easy to install because of the wide voltage ranges now and the low consumption. But I spent the next easily 20 years trying to get people like that to adopt lighting, even in the most simplest forms, just ledge lighting, undercap lighting, a couple of lights on a tree, a specimen tree, wall washers, but at the least, path lights. Because if you're putting a paver patio in for someone or a deck, putting some path lights in along that walkway to go back and forth to the house with a bowl of food at night or something, critical. And you couldn't get any easier than that. So yes, it's a long journey, but once people do it and they can light up their work at night, you're selling your work all night long every time somebody comes to visit that person, because now they can see it. Without that, they're not going outside. So very important there. So the 3 Ps, these are my 3 Ps for the day anyway. Potential. When you go up to a job, just look around. What's the potential there? What's there that you could illuminate? It's not everything. Sometimes you go up to a house and you look at the house from the front and say, oh boy, what am I going to do here? Maybe everything is around the backyard. Maybe it's the side yard. Maybe it's just some light accents. Remember, these potential clients have lived in this property for years. When you add illumination to it, it opens up a view of their property that they've never encountered before. And it's breathtaking no matter what you do, as long as you hit that window that we talked about earlier. So yes, you get out there, you properly design something, you learn. Whether you make a mistake or not, you're going to learn. You go forward, you repeat it, and you continue to learn through experience. This is kind of funny. This is also my 2 adages of the day. I thought of these last night while I was kind of fine-tuning this, but honestly, if you don't know how to drive, you shouldn't be selling cars, right? Real easy. I remember the first time I got on a tractor and I was helping somebody plow some fields, and it was down in Smyrna, Delaware. And I'd never done that before. I was probably 14, but within 20 minutes, I was a pro, because I learned, I listened, I made a couple mistakes. I did a little crooked row. I got yelled at, but you can be sure I tried to do better, and I did. I felt confident to get back on that tractor the next time I went down there and offer to help. And, I didn't worry. I got confidence. Same thing. Don't offer to cook someone a gourmet meal if you've never cooked something basic. And this is kind of a right up. You learn to cook. Sometimes you don't learn to cook, and you just spend a lot more money out at restaurants if that's the case. But there's something to be said about being self-sufficient at times, and you get good at something and then you're not afraid of it anymore. How about this? Rolling up to this house, if you're a younger company who maybe is just getting into lighting, it could be very intimidating. This is a large house. It's all white. What the heck would you do here? Well, would you be amazed if I told you that the ambient light sources coming towards this house at night were nil? Nothing there. So first thing that was great. No competing light sources other than the moon and the stars. So this contractor and I discussed this project before he took it on, and I told him that, you could probably use really low light levels here. And well, what fixture should I use? It really doesn't matter. Just pull the most basic thing. So if it's small footprint you're looking for, let's keep the footprint of the fixture small. But by doing everything in a soft manner and not having a lot of hot spots and hard lines, it's gonna lend itself to being a beautiful job, because you're going to get so much reflection on here. So everything had frosted lenses on it. Everything was lower wattage, and I think they even added some frosted lenses at the end to even mute it out more. But wonderful job, and I was lucky enough that he sent me the image afterwards, and looked fantastic. These are just basic fixtures, just like I mentioned earlier. Tools, an uplight for some of the areas. A small wall wash light, that's second story lighting. That's all you need. And then for the columns, maybe more of the directional spots, lower lamps, and then path lights, of course. So an intimidating job can be finished with most basic tools sometimes, just because you have to know the effect. And I will say this, if you're not used to this, do a demo. We're going to talk about demos again, but feel free to do a demo and fine tune it, because that's the way you're going to learn too. For all you know, you do this left side of the property with 4 lights. Maybe you shine from the ground to get the peak on that first demo night. Customer comes home, you leave it out there for a couple of days, they call you and they love it. Now you know that they love that effect. Just repeat it on the property, make everything else look that way. Don't be afraid of second story. The dormers are a must here. Without that, it would look like just one big black roof line, and you don't want to shy away from that. Good, better, best. What do you think of this? This is good, right? You know, it's got some downlights here. This is something that in season, I'm not sure what this is, but let's just say it's something like a clematis that's vining here in the warm months. And they have a little light behind the fence to light up this area. Has the flag illuminated. Really nice job. Low budget. Maybe the customer didn't want more. Maybe they didn't know what they wanted. Maybe the confidence level is low on the contractor side, so he knew he could do this. This is in the window. Okay, now he's got more confidence. He wasn't afraid to go up and do that second story because that adds drama to this. You've got the three-dimensional look of the siding now popping out at you. It's just, it adds to it. Now he wanted to offer something that maybe no one else did because he wants to make sure he gets the job. So they did the arbor, and they had 2 lights tucked away, white, mounted at the bottom, shining straight up. Perfect. Customer loves it. Now they get to walk through that. But if they entertain, and this is where you have to ask the questions, do you entertain? How are your weekends spent? It's just my family and I, we spend time in the backyard. But if you hear, we usually have a lot of people come over, Friday night is our night to have people come over to the pool. And well, how are they entering your backyard? Oh, they all go through that arbor. Done. Now you know what to do next. Well, now you know they're entering into the backyard. What if there was one more step you could take? How about that? Illuminate some of the foliage on some of the larger trees. So this house just went from the good, because it fit in that window. Maybe it was a budgetary reason or again, skill level. But now you're all the way here. This is a postcard now. Is it a glamorous house? Is it an estate? No, but most of the homes that people will do, if all of you do 4 or 5 jobs in the next year, they're not all going to be estates. You're going to have that customer that just wants the quality of their life increased. They want to be able to go outside. Maybe they had a patio put in. Knowledge breeds confidence. Same thing with a customer. If you don't have a nice backyard, if your deck is old, if it's 30 years old with mold all over it and mildew, do you want to light that up? Absolutely not. You shouldn't. So don't do that. But yeah, if you've got something brand new, you yourself just built a beautiful patio outside with a cedar deck on the side and a hot tub in the middle, but you have no lighting. You're going to want some lighting out there. And that's what this is. And these show themselves every day of the week. Hopefully you're the lucky recipient of jobs like that. So just a side-by-side, good, it's fine. Better than nothing, right? And then great. You're really encompassing everything there. Could you have done more light here? Probably so, but there is that line where too much is too much. So I've kind of talked about why clients need lighting. It's all over the place. Sometimes it's the easiest jobs are curb appeal. Do you need curb appeal? No, curb appeal tends to prey more off of showing off to the neighborhood. We just moved into this beautiful house. It's all stone and brick, and hey, there's no lighting. Oh, geez, we're going to have a lot of people visiting us this year because we moved here. Let's light up the front so that when they pull up to my house, their jaw drops. Nothing wrong with that. But the real fun projects tend to be the ones that are in the back. They're the skill level ones. They're the ones where you're hiding wire, you're going up 4x4 columns, you're putting stuff in areas that you're not used to. Not everyone can do stuff like that. You'll see some images here that you may say, oh, I've done that every day. But you're going to see some images here too that you might say, well, how the heck did you do that? And that's why we're here. I don't know where you are in the country, all of you, but I can guarantee you've got a Hunter FX rep, within 30 miles of you. And we just need to know that you're out there and that you want some help, and more than willing to come and meet you and talk about this and take this to the next step. Beautiful house down at the beaches. Again, kind of the line between Delaware and Maryland here, but wonderful project. The architecture, just amazing. Custom home, beautiful landscape. It was a beach house. The customers here barely stayed in this thing, which I was amazed to hear when I was down there. They visit occasionally. So, you've got this house as a second or third home, but they still wanted this for security reasons, but they also wanted it for curb appeal, primarily. Safety, security. You never know why somebody wants lighting, but I can tell you this, if it's safety related or security, whether there's older people that live with the property now, maybe somebody had a tumble recently, you never know what it is, but sometimes you really have to ask the questions. If it's security, if maybe a home's been broken into in the neighborhood and now they're worried, I can tell you this, and not to get off topic, but so where I live in Chester County right now, if anybody is remotely from this area, you've seen the newscast, there's a prison maybe 25 miles away from here, and someone broke out who has unalived somebody, and now they're on the lam essentially, but they've located them at a place called Longwood Gardens, which is thousands of acres. So schools have been closed this week. Longwood Gardens, which is a huge arboretum, has been closed every day. I'm sure there's a few other things closed, but it's far enough away from me where I'm not concerned. But I can tell you, everybody within 5 miles of that center, they've got their lights on. They've got every extra light on in the house probably. So it's just funny. People will use light when they need it. So think about that when you see entertainment areas or pools that are, a huge apron around the pool and no light at night, just from within the pool. That's something you want to focus on. Guarantee they've had an issue with light if there's nothing there and it's a highly trafficked area at night. Yeah, function entertainment. This is the one where you're hiding the wire, but the world is your oyster on a job like this. Okay, well, what do we have? Always figure out what's there already. So in this case, you might have the two pendant lights hanging down, and that could be it. So now you want light shining down. You want workspace areas illuminated. But this is also where you get into control. So FX has a product called Luxor that can do individual zones. Every fixture can be its own zone, even though it's on the same wire. But this is where something like that would come into play big time, because if it's movie night and everybody sits down and says, all right, oh, forgot to turn the lights off. Hold on. Somebody pulls their phone out. They turn all the lights off, but they might leave a couple in the back of the room on dimly lit, just in case someone has to get up and use the lavatory or run and get a snack or something. So it's utility lighting on demand once you get to something like this. So where do you begin? We've talked about a lot. Consider viewpoints. Find the highest area of the property. Walk up to it. If it's the deck in the backyard, I've been on so many jobs over the years, and I meet contractors that, well, what would you do here? Okay, do you mind me taking over? No, I don't. All right, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, let me introduce myself. I usually would introduce myself as somebody that works closely with their contractor or potential contractor at that point. It's nice because now they associate him with me, and oh, this guy's got, he's got people that know, and they get very excited about that. Do you mind if we go up on your deck? No, of course not. What are you doing up there? Well, we want to get a good view of the back of your property, and I find that taking a gander from the highest point will give us that. They know, like these are the keywords, the buzzwords that they want to know. They want to know what they're paying for, but they also want to feel like, wow, these people know what they're doing. You learn this through the years, and if you feel like you're not anywhere close to being at that point, this is when you come to your manufacturer's reps. You find that Hunter guy out there, you find the FX guy out there, you find your distributor guy that is, oh, this guy knows a lot about lighting. You don't be afraid to create a little bit of backup for you, because it's great. We want to work that way with you. If you don't do well in your business, we don't do well in ours. And that's huge. Best part of my job for being a rep, outside sales rep for over 18 years, best part of my job was watching people grow and be successful. And getting that phone call saying, hey, thank you. I mean, it warms your heart. We want that. So please use us for that. Obvious points of interest will come about fairly quickly: specimen trees, statues, fountains, ponds, unusual architecture. But sometimes you see things that are just odd. Like you see that old 1954 bike leaning against a tree in the backyard. And you're like, yeah, can we remove that before we light that tree up? Be careful. I've had two occasions over the years where those were monuments to people who had passed away. And in both situations, one was a child, and it wasn't a really old bike, but it was a little bike, had the tassels hanging from the handlebars, had training wheels on it, and you can be sure as heck that they put that there. And when we offered to light that up, that brought tears to their eyes. And then when we heard the story, it really brought tears to everybody's eyes. And the other one was a tribute to a grandmother. And it was that 1954 Schwinn that stayed in the family forever. And all the kids learned how to ride on it. And when mom passed away or grandmom passed away, they decided to just lean up against a tree so that they could look at it from the window above the sink at night. But they didn't have a light on it. So when you offer to do something like that, you just have to ask questions. You might get, oh yeah, that's just trash leaning up against the tree. But every once in a while, you'll get something that is truly meaningful. And it's neat. It takes you out of that everyday box and says, wow, thank God I asked that question. And you will get answers like that throughout the time. Now, there are a lot of dedication trees in people's properties, from little ones that have passed away and parents that have passed away. And you will definitely get the chance to light up those dedication trees more often than you think. And then sometimes it's just about visual direction. How do you get from the front to the back? Because people don't want people coming in their houses anymore. I can tell you this, when someone knocks on our front door, we all hit the floor like, SWAT teams after us or something. And it's just, no one comes to the front door. If it's UPS, they ring the doorbell and then you hear the truck pull off and everything's fine. But if it's a knock at the front door, we don't answer it. Like, we creep up to it, or if you have a camera or something, you look at that to see who it is. So people are more than happy to say, well, people are coming over for this party. We'd love for them to park on the front lawn or the driveway. And boy, if you could have that front walkway lit up well, we're not going to use it all the time, but if there's an app we can have where we can turn that on when we have a party, and turn it on really nice and bright so people can come there with their food and their kids and their pool floaties or whatever they're bringing, that would be killer. Sometimes it's just visual direction to get people from one point to the other safely, or to avoid going to another area. So think about that as well. I love jobs like that because there's a huge window again for that one. You're going to hit it every time. So yes, engage the homeowner. What do they love about their house? What do they not like about it? Have they ever had any incidents where people fall and stumble at night? Because you want to concentrate on that and get them out of the woods, so to say, and make sure that at least that one major thing is taken care of. And then everything after that is built on trust and quality and ability at that point. Establish yourself as that lighting expert. You're attending this class today. You're getting all this. If you didn't know this before, you're learning, and then hopefully you're writing down questions that might need elaboration, or you've already got that question like, hey, who is my FX rep? We can find that for you. Darkness is your friend. Again, if you go to a house during the day, how the heck do you know how it's lit up at night? Maybe the neighbor has floodlights that shine over on it. Maybe there's a street light that really does a good job lighting the front of that house up. And I say that facetiously because it's never a good job when the street light's lighting up your house. It hurts low voltage landscape lighting. So for these bigger jobs where you just need to know because you really want it, go by at night, buzz by at night. I mean, heck, if you know the homeowner well enough, ask them, say, hey, would you mind taking a picture of your house from the sidewalk at night and sending that to me? That's not what I would do. I would try to go by myself. But if it's far away and that's really what you have to work with, you got to see the property at night to really, really do a good job. So much will show itself at night. And I've seen people miss that window just because they underlit it because the darn house was lit up with streetlights. So level 1 is your good lighting. That's what we call soft. Level 2 is your better lighting. It's medium. And then level 3, bright lights. You got to be careful with these because they are bright, but when you do it right, man, it's your great lighting. Back to this, we saw examples of that. Here's a new picture. You got to be on the mark with this. So you've got 2 choices here. If this is an area that people are going to sit and have a barbecue grill, or going to add a kitchen to it, or maybe this is at a not a residence. Maybe this is somewhere that people are going to get married and they have entertainments and the DJ is set up here, or the food is served here. Ask a lot of questions, but these are the opportunities where you can interest people by saying, hey, Would you love to control these lights by an app? Therefore, you can dim them. You can change color, perhaps, if that's in the budget. But you can turn them off when you're done with it. Heck, I've seen a lot of wedding venues now outside where if they get the right contractor and he says, hey, you can control these, but when it's time to cut the cake, we can turn, someone can turn all the lights, the bridal colors. They can, for the father-daughter dance, they can change the lights to this color, which maybe is the bride's favorite color. They can do memorial dances. I mean, color is something we're not really discussing too much today. You'll see a few images coming up, but it's all about cues. So if it's not just a residence and it's going to be business or marketing, man, the color sells itself because now you can talk them into cues. Color and changing lights from bright to dim and changing the color, they're all about cues at that point. And they spend a lot of restaurants and outdoor venues spend a ton of money on marketing. They don't always get everything back from that. Sometimes the marketing things flop. This is not going to flop because it's going to be there for them, helping them through all the processes and activities for years. So consider that as well when you get outside of residential sometimes. Fixture placement. Do you put one light in the tree? Do you put two? Do you put three? It depends on the size of the tree. And more importantly, it just depends on the view. If you want to see something from the front and it's right in front of the driveway as you pull in at night, one or two lights can be it because that's what you're seeing. But if it's a 360 tree and people are walking around the yard, you may want to have 3 or more lights so that no matter which way they walk, that part of the tree or the bush or the structure is going to be illuminated. So fixture placement is something that you learn and you can get it close during the day, but you have to know correlation to how bright the fixture is, to how close it is to the product that you're lighting up or the tree or the home. But you also have to know and think about what color it is. So if the house is white, like we saw earlier, you don't need to get too close and you don't need anything too bright. It's a movie screen at that point. So anything you light it up with is going to really reflect out. But at the same point, if it's a dark brick house, it's going to absorb a lot more light than it reflects. So that's time to either add more lights or bump up the output, the lumen output. So some soft lighting images. So I want you to be familiar with when we talk about soft lighting or good lighting, it's not a lot of fixtures all the time. It's stuff that's placed and it's doing double duty because now you've got some lights up in trees that are just shining down. I'm looking at the picture on the right and the left. It's just meant to shine down on a walkway because maybe they didn't want path lights. Maybe they wanted the fixtures way above to create that moonlight effect. Nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you get a twofer because the light will go through some branches and give you a really cool artistic shadow on the ground. And when the wind blows lightly, it adds some movement to it. It can be mind-blowing to the homeowner when they didn't expect to have something like that thrown in as well. This is a neat one. This is a custom-built little kiddie barn in the backyard, and the parents wanted the lights put in. They wanted things that weren't going to get hot, so LEDs were perfect. They also wanted that catwalk lit up so that the kids could come off of it at night. But the other thing they wanted is they wanted this thing Wi-Fi so that they could turn the lights down low and up when it was time to signal for the kids to come in. And they also wanted the kids to come in and then turn it off so that they wouldn't go back out. So kind of a neat thing. And you never know, you'll come across stuff like this on properties. It might not be something this elaborate. It might just be a play set that you want to illuminate so that you can kind of offer the same thing to the homeowners. Parents love to have their kids out in the backyard when it's safe, so that they can enjoy their downtime until someone cries and you got to go out there with the betadine and the Band-Aids, of course. Level 1 path lights. We saw this image earlier. Just providing some basic light so that people can walk. And again, it's leading you somewhere, or maybe it's a safety factor. There's a million different styles of path lights. These are modern path lights that are FX fixtures. This style may not be for everyone, but it all matters on what the customers want in the end. So I always say, like, show them something traditional, show them something out of the box. And you'd be surprised how many people will say, oh, this is an interesting take. We were in Italy last summer, and a lot of the fixtures we saw out there looked like this. Sold, they bring a little bit of Italy or Spain or wherever they went to see this back to their property, and they love it. Level 1 wash lights. You have one light on the left, one on the right. This is essentially leading you into a really grand property. And without this, you're going to focus on the house, but it's just nice to have that tertiary lighting kind of leading you in. Medium light. What do you think of this image? It's a little chaotic, but a lot illumination. You've got trees lit up, smaller trees in the back. You've got trees in the middle. You've got some path lights showing you where to go. Maybe it's not enough. Okay, a couple of more path lights put in, so we're lighting up more of that kind of ground cover, low shrubbery, but it's still got some dark spots in it. Through the columns in there, now you've got structure illuminated. You've got more path lights in there. I feel like from where I'm sitting, looking at this screen all the way through, it's going to carry me and it's going to look awesome. Was there anything wrong with this? Not too much. I mean, you know, we talk about good, better, best. Budgetary constraints. This is all I could give them. They didn't want any more because they didn't want to spend more than $10,000. I mean, that could be part of it. But if it's strictly based on you didn't know what to do, learn what to do, because this is a lot better than that first image if it's in the budget. So yes, level 3 lighting takes you into the world of, hey, is this commercial? Well, kind of. It's an entrance to a really fancy development. And I can tell you this, if you can get this, you're guaranteed to get a few more homes in that development, because the HOA is going to love you after you do this, and it's going to be low voltage, so it's going to save them money. This could take you into a whole new category in that development. So never shy away from things like this. This is a great entrance into an area that you want more work in. Just make sure you use lights that go bright enough, because you do need some punch power here. Focal points. This tends to be artistic ability. Now you've got to know, you've got to hide fixtures. You tend to use smaller fixtures. You better be good at hiding things, because if they're prevalent and you have more glare than beauty, you didn't do it right. So these are often the jobs that you might want to seek somebody's help on. Cross lighting, it's a basic terminology. Light on the left, light on the right, cross them over. One shoots the opposite way. You essentially get double the lights. You almost get the ability to have the output of 3 just by using 2, but it's coverage. At this point, you're trying to cover a lot of surface. And you tend to see this with a lot of things that have some texture to it as well. Backlighting, that's when you put lights behind something because you're just going for that silhouette shadow. But it's also cool because you hide the light. So from the main vantage point, that's where you want to make sure the aperture of that light is hidden, so it's not interfering with that cool shadow effect. Triggers. Light creates triggers. When you look at this image, I want to sit on that couch and take a nap. Maybe after a snack or something, but maybe after a drink. I don't know what your lifestyle is, but this is just a comforting image. I love it. I don't have a room in my house that looks like this, but if I could make it in here, I would. I picture just being comfortable there. If I turn the lights out, what do you have? You got nothing. You got a comfortable couch, but you better close your eyes because you're not going to see anything. But my point is, light triggers all the responses I just gave you. So we go a little further. Light can influence emotion. This is some color. This is some bubbling water. This is some lush plant material. If I'm sitting out there at night and the mosquitoes aren't biting, I'm going to put a cocktail in my hand and I'm going to relax, and I'm going to let all the stresses of the day leave me, because I've got sound of water. I've got really cool visuals. I've got nature around me. Without light, you don't have any of that at night. Curiosity. This is neat. This is a moon gate. My first one I ever saw on a project I was involved in years ago, but we tried to figure out how to light this up in the best way. And in this case, it was really easy to put in 2 in-ground wells with frosted lenses in them, one on each side, so they weren't in the traffic pattern. And this is really big. You can, 6'5" person could walk through this and obviously not hit their head. And it just hits the silhouette. It was all brushed stainless steel. Just the customers loved it. Did it look like it belonged there? Yeah, it's like a portal to the next universe, but that's the curiosity part. Really cool. And then you've got wonder. This is when you're bringing out the RGBW. You're creating, Fantasia here. You've got Disney. Who knows what this is, but this is not residential. This is an actual venue. So again, I mentioned people aren't afraid to spend money when it comes to marketing and venues. I mean, this is killer. You just have to know what to do, and you seek out the help. So demos are awesome. A lot of manufacturers have demo kits. We have two. We have a ZDC custom one on the right, and then we have your standard LED. You can pull the lamps out, put in brighter lamps. It's retrofit. So you can kind of tweak it to be 3000K, 2700K. You can put lenses in it. It's less expensive on the left, but you don't get the ability to do the RGBW, which is on the right. You can talk to someone distributor-wise or FX about this if you're interested. And then upselling, that's when you start to use terms like brass, copper, aluminum. We talked about this earlier. They do the same thing, but if you're at the shore, if you're at the beach, you're in a heavy sailing environment, or maybe you have that customer that doesn't want to see the fixtures during the day, you have to start considering the product now about the color of it, what it's made out of. We're 10-year warranty across the board on our fixtures. So it's not going to be about the warranty at this point because it's all 10 years. It's going to be about what's right for that project. Yeah, which job is better? The eye of the beholder. Some people want that gloomy, dark, secretive look on the left. Other people want something that looks very clean and no shadows on the right. You don't want dark holes. When you see this job, it was not done right. There's too many levels that were missed. They were afraid to go up on the second story, obviously. This is not a great looking job. Would the homeowners still appreciate this? I bet they would, because it was all dark before, but it wouldn't take long for them to start being curious about, well, why is that shadow there? And maybe the neighbor comes over and says, well, my house looks better than yours. What happened? So be careful with stuff like this. What to light? Always a common question when you get out to a project. These are just going to show you. I'm buzzing through these because we're almost out of time, but I want you to see what a project looks like from the beginning, when you drive up during the day, to maybe doing a demo at night, to all the way through to fruition. And maybe it's a job that you can now change the colors on. So, hey, you talk somebody into never needing to put Christmas lights up again, and they can go from this year-round beautiful light to, for the month of December, change everything this just by hitting a single button on your app. Any patriotic holiday that comes up, here you go. Memorial Day, 4th of July, Veterans Day, Flag Day, they'll use this repeatedly. Halloween could be all purple. It could be all orange. I don't know. I see different things, but it's just to show you that one system can give somebody endless opportunity to laugh, entertain relatives, have parties. It's not for everyone, but if they knew what it could do, it might be for more people than you think. The last thing I want to talk about, and unfortunately I'm going to buzz through it super quick, is Hunter Industries FX has created something called My Design. All you need to do is go on our website and click on My Design, and you'll have to enroll. But now you can import images and do all of this. You can drop fixtures down. You can move them around. Pull factor. You can illuminate it and get it in night mode. You can show the client this. You can email this to them. And if you don't want to show where the lights are going to be, you can remove them and just show them daytime shot, nighttime shot. If you are a design firm, if you have designers in-house, if you're doing modeling and renderings, you can add lights to that as well. So here's a simple structure. This may not even be in play yet, but you can show them, and hey, we're going to light this up when we build it for you. It's just an awesome feature, and it's all you guys. We take it a step further. We have design services that you can truly go into. Same thing, you can learn about that on our website, but it's basic layout, concept layout, all the way up to a full plan, which will get you this. No charge. It'll get you this. It'll get you the wire runs. They'll create the keys for you, the details, the CAD details. I mean, it's awesome. You'll get the project flow. There's a lot more to talk about when it comes to this, but we've run out of time, and I want to thank you for sitting through this with me.
Thank you very much, Anthony. It looks like we have about 10 minutes to address some questions we received in the chat box. Looks like all three came from our friend Jeff Sullivan. I'll read off first. So Jeff says, many of these photos show fixtures lighting up windows. Is this an issue for most people?
No. So that's a great question. That's one of the questions I had a long time ago. You're only getting light in the windows when it's at an angle. So a lot of times when you're skirting light up the structure, so what we call wall washing, the fixture and the beam pattern is kind of washing up. It's almost like sliding water across the table. It gets to a point where it can't penetrate the other way. It's just sliding on a surface. So light can't go up and then take a 90-degree angle into the window. Will you have some reflection as it kind of creeps around the window frame? Yes, it's one of those things that you can't get around. It's just the amount of minimization that you can do to make sure it's not a problem.
Thank you, Anthony. It looks like he has a second question, and it reads, if you wanted to light up that push bike, but not much else, what fixture would you use?
So you tend to use, I'm sorry, was there more?
Oh, there's a bit more. The
Okay.
PV path, which he meant to say PV wall wash light, would be my first thought, but they light up a lot more space. Is there something softer? So it's a
Yes.
two-part question.
There is. So we have, well, we have a couple of choices. So if you're sticking with the integrated type of fixtures, which means it's LED board driven chip on board type of technology, you've got a smaller version called the QB. So it's a 1 LED. The footprint is about half the size of a PB, and it does a really good job. But again, if you're really trying to soften it, you can add a dimmer to it, which FX has a low voltage dimmer coming out really, really soon. Like I've got one right next to me. I'm looking at it right now. So that'll be on the market very shortly. And that'll work from a basic transformer. So dimming something like that is critical. But there's one more little trick that I always tell people never to be afraid of. If you buy a retrofit type of fixture that takes any type of G4, you can get that thing down to like a 1 LED lamp inside of it. And now you're just glowing outside of it. So we have fixtures that are what we would consider like the old incandescent style, but now take retrofit lamps. You have no problem getting it down to a 1.1 LED VA, and it would do a fine job. I have no problem at all saying you'll hit it perfectly, just a little playing around.
Excellent. It looks like we've answered all of the questions in the chat box. I'm going to give us a minute here for people to enter their own questions if they'd like. All right, it looks like that's all the questions we're going to receive today. Well, everyone, it looks like we're out of time. Thank you for attending, and please don't forget to check out our website for upcoming webinars throughout the year. A big thanks to Anthony for sharing his knowledge with us today, and to Hunter Industries and FX Luminaire for sponsoring the webinar.
My pleasure.
Oh, here we are. Actually, it looks like some questions came in. Let's get to those since we have some time. How do you fix the wires? James, would you mind elaborating on that question for us? It looks like there's a typo.
Size the wires?
That might be it. How do you size the wires?
So yeah, sizing the wire is one of those basic things you learn about in the beginning and you keep learning about for years. And so you have two things. FX has created a voltage drop calculator. So what's cool about it, you go on our website and under the search bar, type in voltage drop calculator. You can Google it and type in FX Luminaire voltage drop calculator. You can get to it that way as well. So the easiest way is to put in your load. You'll put in your distance. It'll tell you what gauge wire you need to use, and it'll tell you your volt drop along the way to the last fixture, which is awesome. So that's kind of a cheat sheet. Are you learning a lot from that? You're probably not learning what I would want you to learn, is because it's someone doing your homework for you, but that's okay. That's when you dig into it and say, well, how did I get to that? And we will walk you through it, because with LED, there's everything from 18 gauge wire, which is pigtail size in most cases, to 14, 16 is a little smaller, it's in between, but you've got 12 gauge, 10 gauge, which isn't used as much anymore. It's all about sizing the wire to hide, but also don't waste money on 12 gauge if you can do it with 14. So it's an important question, but the voltage drop calculator will get you going, and then we can teach you the rest one-on-one.
Thank you, Anthony. And thank you, Hunter Industries and FX Luminaire for sponsoring the webinar. If you have any questions we did not get to answer today, please feel free to email them to education@irrigation.org. We will pass those on to the appropriate team member. This concludes our webinar. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you very much.